I secretly watched 400 players simulate a dinosaur island. Now, will this be the video that convinces me to finally buy, download, and play this game? Let's find out.
Because the Morgan Freeman Dinosaur series on Netflix isn't nearly as good as this. Where will our adventures take us today?
I'm a little ahead.
I don't know about you, but I like watching dinosaurs. Maybe I'm autistic, or maybe I just know what's good. But I've had hundreds of requests to make another one of these videos, so here I am. We're going to be watching the #1 server Petits Pieds, where thousands of people come and play what is probably one of the hardest survival games ever made. Now, this isn't a sandbox like the Jurassic Park game. There are no NPC dinosaurs. Every creature you see is being controlled by a real player, and a lot of them haven't touched grass in weeks because some of these dinosaurs literally take upwards of 10 hours to grow. So,
see what I'm saying? That's why I think that they should add a multiplier so that you have kind of like a... So, for example, like I was saying earlier, this would be a lot better because then I have a visual to like give you guys so you guys understand what I'm saying. So, in this game, there's like a goat, a deer, a fucking bird, a fucking whatever that you could find, you can kill, you can eat. That gives you minimal experience, but it keeps your stomach full, gives you stamina, rest, and recovery, all that shit. The main XP you get is from killing dinosaurs, right? So that's why I think that if you take out, let's say there was fucking 3 of fucking whatever the fucking this thing is, I can't tell because it's behind the trees there, and they take on this Triceratops, right? That should give you a multiplier. Like, let's just say a 1.0 times multiplier on your XP rate so that it kind of boosts your growth rate, right? Or on your growth rate specifically, they could do it that way, right? But let's just say, I don't know, 30 minutes later, after you and the squad are kind of lumbering around, you find 2 Triceratops. Or you find a Triceratops and a Stego walking together. If you guys kill them, then you should now be at a 3 times multiplier. And they don't have to do it, that extreme, right? And because I don't know how much that would even change, because like I said, I haven't played this game yet. So, assuming that the XP rate is ridiculous and it takes you a long time, considering it takes 10 hours to get a fully grown fucking whatever, the time investment is extreme. If you could hit multipliers to essentially cut that time in half, it would feel a lot better. Because then you're running around with the boys, you make a mistake or two, you get caught by one of these Triceratops, and they end up killing you. Well, fuck. You got to regrow, but it can't be too bad because, you got your boys there. They can help you get XP again, right? And it still helps them get to fully grown, blah, blah, blah. And then people could engage with the world a bit more because they'll be a bit more experimental rather than doing whatever the meta is, right? To try to get to full grown, right? And then it doesn't feel as bad when you lose a full grown because if you get the right situation, you can grow at an exceptional rate to kind of get back to where you were. That's all I'm saying. Just make the growth part of it less punishing, and I think casuals will want to play this game a lot more.
Me, my possibly autistic friend, and let's watch some dinosaurs because the Morgan Freeman Dinosaur series on Netflix isn't nearly as good as this. Where will our adventures take us today? Well, I found these very menacing looking Dinosaurs walking to the ocean. Now, both of them were prime elders, so they were the biggest crocodiles on the island, and for some reason they...
Dude, some of these color variants are so sick.
They had this little duck following them there. It's pretty...
This is what I'm talking about, multi-packing. Bullshit.
Pretty common to see these giant crocodiles with emotional support pets with them because it's a very stressful creature to play, and you'll see why. Anyway, I watched them walk their way into the ocean because I knew what was swimming in their direction. I had spotted another pair of Dinosaurs. It looked like a mother and her child making their way through the lagoon, and this species are very much into their cannibalism, so I knew the larger pair would probably kill the smaller pair. And I ended up being right because as soon as the two fully grown saw the baby, they were on its tail trying to kill it. Unfortunately, after the new update, I can't see under the water, just the outlines, so thank you to the old developers for that. Anyway, the mother just kind of hid there and the baby ended up running onto land in an effort to save itself, but it got ran down and slaughtered. Somehow the mother got glitched into the rock and that actually ended up saving her life because she was untouchable in there. Now the whole situation got a lot worse when I realized the father was just around the corner. Obviously no one told him that the baby got fossilized and mum was incarcerated, so when he turned around the corner, the pair of prime elders jumped him as well. Now the dad was also a prime elder, but there's no winning a 2v1 in this scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, if the mother didn't choose to stay in the rock, they definitely would have had a chance, but you know, this player was like, nah, I'm all good. And the poor dad got double teamed and of course ended up dying, so rest in peace to him, but I'm sure he made a really good meal for the hungry duo. The next day, I stumbled upon a bit of a situation. 3 Allosaurus fighting 3 Diablosaurus.
This is what I'm talking about, right? Like, if these 3 allos that are running together manage to kill these 3, they should get a 3 times multiplier to their growth. And just absolutely just fucking boop, 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 and grow so much faster.
Triceratops. Now, only one of the allos looked to be a fully grown prime. I think if all 3 of them were full primes, there wouldn't be a fight to watch here. But these dibbles were locked in, man. They were making life very hard for the allos. They had a Spartan level defense and they were taking very little damage. They even had some backup from a Dryosaurus who was doing some kung fu on the allos. It even took a solid bite on the tail, so big respect for this player. The fight attracted a few more spectators, and after the allos suffered some pretty hard hits from one of the dibbles and some friendly fire, I thought they would give up, but surprisingly, they continued to hunt. Although one of them got spanked pretty hard, so they had to take a time out in the bush. The dibbles ended up moving the fight to a nearby cliff where it's easier to defend, and they called in the cavalry, which basically consisted of a few small Dryosaurus, and even Apache came to help out, and that went about as good as what you would expect. One of the Dryosaurus got caught and obviously got lobotomized, and shortly after that, so did the Apache. The big Allosaurus started aura farming for some reason, because who wouldn't do that after killing a bunch of small tiers? They were pretty much at a stalemate with the dibbles being untouchable on the cliff, so both parties decided to just sit down and talk about their issues, and eventually they all went their own separate ways. No one really died except for all the herbivores that were trying to help the dibbles, and you know, I don't think the dibbles really needed help, but we respect it. The next day, the sun was rising, and who doesn't like watching murder for breakfast? Again, it was some allos bullying some innocent dibbles down at the lagoon. I thought this fight could go either way since everyone looked like they only had
Allosaurus is one of my favorite dinosaurs. I fucking love Allosaurus.
a few hits left in them each, and as far as fights go, I think this was pretty even, but again, I didn't catch the beginning, so who knows if they all started with full HP. I thought the allos were done for when one of them got knocked down and impaled, but straight after that happened, one of the dibbles dropped dead. So then it became a 2v1, and the allos just jumped on the last herbivore and pin slopped it to the ground. Only this was the weirdest pin I've ever seen, and honestly, it looked low-key inappropriate, but maybe that's just me, I don't know. Then I nearly shat my pants because when I was recording this, I didn't see the 2 Dornosuchus waiting for the dibbles to die. Honestly, these crocodiles had some serious aura because they came out of the water like a couple of gangsters throwing up 3 calls. Obviously, there's nothing the allos could do to stop these blokes from just taxing their food, and understandably so, the allos were very unhappy with losing their food. But when I say these Dornosuchus did not care, I really mean it. Remember to never kill anything near the water if there's a Dornosuchus in there, because anything that dies near the water does not belong to you, bud. For the rest of the day, nothing much happened. I found this fight a little late. It was a Stego and a Trike against 2 fully grown T-Rex. The Stego and the Trike weren't actually allowed to be fighting together since it's against the rules of the server, but I don't think these T-Rex will be making a ticket to the admins since it looked like they were the ones abusing these herbivores. The Trike was the first to die, and the Stego stego died shortly after. I also found this Dinosaurus and Stegosaurus. Now, I'm not sure what was happening here. At first, it looked like the Dinosaurus had cornered the stego, but then it jumped into the water and it was letting the crocodile get bites on it. So my best guess is that these two were friends, and I'm assuming the stego wanted to die. So why not feed one of your starving buddies in the process, I guess.
True.
Fair enough. I was busy editing this video at my computer when I noticed these Ceratos hanging around in the compound. This is a pretty obtuse area of the map, so I'm not sure what they were doing here. The only thing around was this nest of hipsies. They had a pretty sweet nest up here, and it looks like mum and dad settled down and made a bunch of babies. They also seem to be on good terms with their neighbors, since none of the Ceratos killed any of them. And I mean, honestly, there's no point in something like a Cerato killing one of these little guys, since it would be the same as me eating a Tic Tac for dinner. It just doesn't really make sense. I also tried following this little hipsy afterwards. I thought it might get interesting, and it looked
It's crazy that you can play as something this small in the game. That's kind of nuts.
like this player was about to end it all at this cliff, but they survived the fall and proceeded to be extremely boring. I don't know how these things are fun to play, but I guess
Proceeded
it's
to
more
be
like a
extremely
social
boring.
dinosaur that you play with some chill people. Anyway, it's not my cup of tea. Things finally started getting spicy when I noticed this Triceratops, and I saw it was walking directly towards a fully grown prime T-Rex. So of course, you know I had to watch this. The trike
Oh, hell
definitely
yeah.
knew that there was a Rex there, because I'm pretty sure it could see it, and it did a little wiggle at the Rex, so that kind of confirmed it. Thankfully, the Rex looked like it wanted a fight, and the trike was knowingly headed straight into it, so I thought I might be about to witness two good players about to have an epic battle. But when the trike got to the beach, it started running away. I didn't expect that, but the Rex kept following along. Turns out the trike just wanted a better position, so it backed itself into some rocks, which wasn't a bad move. When the Rex found it, this player wasted no time and went head first into the trike. Now the trike and Rex fights are still pretty glitchy and they look terrible, but I guess they're good enough. The two of them actually started sparring. Not too many players actually know how to spar properly, and it looked like they both knew what they were doing. They went in for round 2 and neither of them took any significant damage. At this point, the
Crazy.
Rex is trying to break its opponent's legs and the trike is trying to
There's some
keep the
sort of
Rex
bleed
in front of
going.
its head. These two definitely look like they're headed out for each other, and it's always fun watching a good fight, because oftentimes most players choose not to take a fair fight since it's actually the smartest way to survive. Unfortunately for this trike, the Rex managed to break its front left leg, which is basically a death sentence. Of course, the Rex had to savor the moment and walk
I heard that if you're a T-Rex player and your leg breaks, it's basically over for you. I don't know if that's true, but like that's what I heard.
around like top G before heading back into the fight and finishing off its opponent. I mean, I would have liked to see a prime trike take on a Rex, but I guess that'll just have to do for today. Now, last video, a few of you were like, yo, why are you only showing the carnivores wrecking the herbivores? And honestly, I get it. So I went out and I found this. Solo Tenotosaurus fighting a raptor pack in the fog. It doesn't get much better than that. You're right, I can't just keep showing herbivores dying because a lot of them proper wreck every carnivore they run into. It's just harder to find some of these fights for whatever reason. Pretty sure this was a prime elder Tenotosaurus, and this raptor pack had 2 fully growns with them, and I think 1 was a prime elder. Both the pack and the Tenonto were decent at the game. The raptors were baiting attacks really well, and the Tenno player was playing around its environment like a freaking professional. And this Tenno was already pretty banged up by this point. But the thing is, all this herbivore has to do is land like 1 good hit and it can drop any of these raptors. The raptor in this game is like, I want to say glass cannon, but I couldn't even call it that since it does very little damage. Honestly, I would just
Yeah, from what I've seen, like the way to play Raptor is to really get those bleed procs. And it's a very patient strategy, right? So you get in really quick, you get the bleed proc, you get the fuck out of there, and you keep distance and you keep pressure on. But like if I remember right, I think in this game you can also like if you get by the water, you get in the water, like you can't like the bleed proc goes away or something like that. I think it's something like that that I saw. Um which is like Okay, great. So you got the bleed proc on them, but now they're just gonna go in the water, and then the bleed proc's gonna go away, and you're basically you're fighting a losing battle, right?
Call it glass because
Which is where the pinning comes into play to keep them from running into the water, right? Assuming there isn't a massive crocodile in there about to rip your fucking head off.
anything can one hit them and they can only kill
Uh,
stuff in large packs, and it takes a very long time to do so. Every
yeah, yeah, that's what I thought.
time a member of the pack dies, it gets much harder to kill the target. And after this Tenno killed one of the biggest raptors, the whole pack was pretty much cooked. This Tenno knew what it was doing and continued to drop another raptor until there was just 2 blokes left. This smaller player kept on the Tenno while the biggest one rested nearby. Honestly, I wish this last small raptor was bigger because this dude was cooking, man. Definitely a top bloke. And when the bigger guy got back, he got spanked. So finally, it was just the smallest raptor left, and the Tenno ended up obviously killing it. Now, you can't say I don't show you
Damn.
herbivores pooping on carnivores. Also, can we acknowledge that there are people out there that will play herbivores but act like carnivores? It's honestly diabolical, and I know a few people that do this like Dove and Coffee Cat. Diabolical.
That's such a strat, dude. I didn't even think about that. You run around as a gang of pachyosaurs and you just headbutt the fuck out of something?
Women. They do what you're seeing in front of you right now. Notice how this patchy herd is actively assaulting these carnivores. I can't help but feel sorry for these Allosaurus. Imagine getting hit so hard your entire body fractures, and then getting hit again only to have both of your legs broken, and then being chased through a river only to—
That's so good. No, I love that. I love that because that gives the herbivores a true like fighting chance in a pack strategy. That's so sick. Because you have like the smaller T-Rexes, the smaller Triceratop variants. I can't remember what the fuck they're called. When they get together and they form like a little shield wall phalanx kind of strategy, it looks sick, right? And this one is like such a hyper aggressive, just get in, deal damage, and keep running type fucking strategy. And it's like kind of like the Raptors, but the Raptors are much more of like a slow bleed proc, just fucking let it die type thing. And these are like, no, we're just gonna keep hitting you. It's literally death by 1,000 punches. It's so good.
get a few
I
meters on
love
the
that.
other side and dying from blood force trauma. On top of that, your mates can't even bury your body because as soon as you die, you get eaten by a 20,000 pound crocodile and probably pooped out in 2 years.
I did hear that the crocodiles are way too what the fuck? Overpowered. They're way too overpowered. I don't know why my brain malfunctioned there. Yeah, I heard that they're just excessively hard to kill. I don't know, like, are they super good for XP? Y'all let me know in the comments. Are they really good for XP if you manage to kill one of these Dinosuchuses?
Time when it finally takes a dump, which is practically never since crocodiles only need to eat once a year. And the best or worst part, depending on how you view the situation, is that this particular group of players were also bashing herbivores. Like this poor Tenno probably thought it was safe with his fellow herbivore brother and sisters only to get gutter stomped by a living wrecking ball. And yes, the Dinosuchus came to clean up its corpse as well. On another note, can we just appreciate the beautiful symbiosis between the Patchies and the local Dinosuchus? If you enjoyed the video,
that is smart. That is smart. Because you can grow that Dinosuchus real quick if you have a bunch of Patchies around, just beating the shit out of everything.
I might make another one, but only if this one reaches.
Because then they don't need the resources because they're not a meat eater. So like they don't give a fuck. Like they're just here eating some plants and shit and then headbutting you as hard as humanly possible.
Which is 5,000 likes or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, 5,000-ish likes. I'll turn this into a series. I swear to God. Anyway, have a good day. Mwah.
Man, what a fucking video, dude. That shit was so interesting. I like this game, man. I really do. Like